Hey, I'm Emily Miller, and I have breaking news for you. It went out on my Substack last night at emilypostnews.com. So if you read it on email, this is going to be just a little bit more in depth. If you haven't heard the news, DC, Washington, DC, the mayor has ended the vaccine mandate. So after everything that everyone's gone through, and that's for city workers, not for the children, but the city workers, the firefighters, and the police officers who've been fighting all year. And if you've been following my series on emilypostnews.com on the firefighters who have been working overtime, who've been threatening being fired for a year now, it was all for nothing. It's just all for nothing. It was just dropped. The mayor hasn't said anything publicly. I've called her office and asked all of her spokespeople for comment, and it's, quiet. We're not going to talk about suddenly these mandates are gone. These things are people have gotten fired over, lost jobs. It's just been a really tough year for a lot of people. I got the news from this document, it's a special order from the fire chief that went out late last night in DC. I'll show you a little closer so you can see it, this special order, which rescinded the COVID vaccine mandate. And this is from Chief Donnelly. It pretty much mimics the language that the mayor has now updated her website without telling anyone, or anyone in the news has even covered this. I think I'm the only one who's even reported this. Well, it says that the reason they're doing it, and this is what the mayor's website says as well, is COVID protection has shifted due to higher levels of immunity, which we all knew about natural immunity a year ago, and the increased availability of effective COVID-19 prevention and management tools. Those haven't changed. Prevention and management tools have not changed in a year. But anyway, I'm opining here instead of reporting. The district's approach to COVID-19 management has evolved as well. While we continue to encourage members of the department to access life-saving vaccines, district employees will no longer be required to provide proof of vaccination, no longer required to submit negative test results or seek accommodation in lieu of vaccination. That part is talking about many of the firefighters and police officers who've been fighting against this have asked for religious exemptions. Some have been granted for a long time. If you go back into my stories in the spring, for a long time, the mayor said she was not going to give them any of the religious exemptions, and they were going to get fired over the first two shots and then over the booster shot as well. But now this says this is all over, and her website says that as well. The mayor quietly rescinded, as I put it, the vaccine mandate for city employees that's been in effect since June 2021. So this has been a long time. And a lot of people, most of the city workers got vaccinated. I don't know how many of them also got COVID as well, but that's what we know. The city website was updated quietly. I just found it. I looked, I Googled, I didn't see anyone else reporting this. And I did not see the mayor announcing it. And I've been asking her mayor's office why they haven't announced it and when they're going to announce it. And it's radio silence over there at City Hall. But the website changed, and suddenly on September 14th, and said the decision was due to higher levels of immunity. The same thing you saw the fire chief mimic in his order. And I used this picture in color on Substack of the mayor getting her COVID vaccine. And by the way, she also got COVID. Yeah, she was out of work for a while for having COVID after getting all this vaccine nonsense. You've been reading my stories all year on the hundreds of DC firefighters who have been fighting it. They really belong together. They have a lawsuit. I think the lawsuit will still be active. I was talking to those guys today. They're happy about this, obviously, but there's also a lot of anger. I'll tell you about some have talked to me directly about this, about what they've been put through. I mean, these men and women, fire and EMS, whether in DC, New York, San Francisco, which I've reported have been fired, all over the country, they put their lives on the line literally every day. They walk into our burning houses. They deal with when we have heart attacks. They take care of us. And these big cities have just ruined their careers, ruined their lives, and treated them in the worst way after they were the ones at the start of COVID who went out and helped everyone. They were the ones right there before we had masks and anything to protect us. While we all sat at home and locked in. Well, I didn't, but a lot of people did. It's just that's why it's just such a shame who they're doing this to. And I know I've done stories recently on new organizations of frontline workers uniting to fight back so this kind of stuff doesn't happen again, which is probably going to be the lesson in all of this. It's still just a shame. This one says the city's new policy on the religious exemptions with mayor was not giving and then started to give again recently. The agencies should discontinue any religious accommodation granted stop doing them because they're pertain to the COVID vaccine requirement, as they are no longer required. Now it's no longer required. I found a tweet of mine from March when I said, "Where is the outrage that our firefighters and police officers are being fired all over the country for government vaccine mandates that are intended to stop the spread and infection to the public and is OBE, overcome by events? We've known for a long time that the vaccines did not work to stop the infection and to stop spread. And we kept up with these mandates for absolutely no reason. Nobody could explain them." Again, I'm opining a little bit, but I have been doing my reporting on this. So I just want to go a little bit because everyone I've talked to is like, they're just going to get away with it. They're just going to get away with it. And I said, well, not with me. I'm not letting them get away with it. I'm going to remind them what happened. So I'm just going to read to you a couple things. One of the firefighters I spoke with yesterday said to me, he said he didn't want to be quoted because things are so dicey still for them. I understand. But he said to me, a lot of morale was broken, trust broken, and the fundamental structure of a department was severely damaged. We were right. This is what he said to me. I was like, that's so true. We were right, they were wrong, and they damn well know they were wrong. And they're not admitting it. That's what's so astounding about all this. They just won't admit it. They're just quietly changing the website. And these guys were right all along. The natural immunity was just fine for spread, and the vaccines were not necessary. And this is that's one who asked me not to give his name. Another one is Will Jones, who said it's perfectly fine to use his name. Will has been one of the leaders of this fight, one of the leaders of the lawsuit. Great guy, tough firefighter. If you go back into my stories, you'll see some awesome, cool pictures of him in his gear. He looks really cool. He is really cool. It's not a costume. It's his job. Will said, "I'm really proud of all of us who stood up for our convictions throughout this whole ordeal in the face of disparate treatment and the threat of termination." Yeah, I am proud of you, Will. But he also added, "The city and the department should be ashamed for threatening so many of us for something that is now obsolete." And actually what Will's saying is ringing true to what I said, is like, they knew it was not necessary, and they still treated these people like this, these hardworking people who help us every day. And going backwards, also another unvaccinated firefighter who has natural immunity. All these guys got COVID in the beginning when we were all at home. He said, "I feel frustrated, betrayed, emotionally strained by having to risk my job to fight something I knew was wrong and against my beliefs. I was forced to fight to defend my beliefs and risk losing my ability to provide for my family or submit, all for something they had no intention of enforcing." And while I know, because I've done stories on them, on the San Francisco firefighters who have been fired, in other places they were fired. In DC they weren't fired, and that's like even more annoying for them because they're like, all this fighting, all this effort, and they didn't even enforce it. So it was just like this terrible year of stress and fear and looking for other jobs and are we going to keep our house, all of this stuff. It's just such a shame. There's that. I did want to go back because these politicians who forced this mandate for absolutely no reason, they absolutely want us all to forget what they said and forget what they did. So I'm going to remind them. I'm going to keep reminding them. And I will say this has nothing to do with the frontline lurkers, but it has to do with me. I'm still pretty bitter that I was not allowed to go into a restaurant or a bar or any enclosed areas in Washington, D.C. earlier this year, January and February, because I'm not vaccinated. It makes no sense, but I was treated like I had done something wrong, like I was a criminal and was not allowed in a proper establishment because supposedly my non-vaccinated self would be spreading infection, whereas they were the ones spreading infection. Now, I don't have natural immunity, just to clarify. I've never had COVID, and I've never been vaccinated. But my point is these things were so extreme, they made all of us others. It's one of my readers on Substack keeps saying, it's like they make you an other, put you in another category. And so none of us are going to forget, but we have to be remembered. Remember this. When I talked on the subject in January, in January, this is all still this year, right? It's amazing. In January, the mayor added the booster shot, that first booster shot. I think we're on like booster 6 or whatever now. And she gave 3 weeks for everyone to comply. 3 weeks. Or they're fired. So that was like this terrifying period for the police and firefighters. Okay, I'm getting used to this technology on YouTube. This is like my third video, so bear with me. I will start getting used to it. If you have some comments on my technology here, I would love to hear it because I'm figuring it out on the fly. So please let me know if you have ideas, how to upload. All this stuff is still new to me. But let me restart because I should have said at the beginning is that a few weeks ago, I'll have to go back and look at the date, the police union, is August actually. In August, the DC Police Union won a lawsuit in court that said that against the district and that said the mandate was illegal and she couldn't do it. So that most likely, and with the firefighters lawsuit, is what forced the city to just drop it because they have been they are not fighting these lawsuits. And we saw this just in my first video yesterday when the DC stopped fighting the 20-round ammo limit because of a lawsuit. And I just think it's really important you think about it, that fighting back, when you fight back through the courts against these elected officials, politicians, that you can change things. It takes a while though. It shouldn't have taken all year. But I do want to clarify that the mayor is not going to say it. They will never admit it. But that is most likely the reason that this sudden change happened. And I've got calls into the union. They know they better be calling me back soon. They know me well. But I wanted to say that in the terms of not forgetting what they've done, when I talked to the mayor's office in January about this booster shot and this deadline, I asked why they're doing it. I specifically asked a question, like, why are you doing this if it doesn't stop infection? I mean, we knew this all year. This is not a new thing. And the spokeswoman said, the district will take the best course of action to bring this pandemic to its end using vaccines and booster shots, which are proven to be safe and highly effective in preventing severe illness, hospitalization, and death, even with the emergence and spread of the COVID-19 Delta and Omicron variants. Remember, that's when they were scared of Omicron and it ended up being like the easiest one of all to get, you barely feel getting sick over. Anyway, they still said in January the best course of action to end the pandemic is vaccine and boosters. Well, yeah, that didn't happen. We just all got it and it's over. And not everybody got vaccinated and still ended. And her spokesman actually said to me, I wrote this down and I'm keeping it, that vaccination is the single most effective way of preventing serious illness and death, but would not answer why police and firefighters needed to be vaccinated to work. So you see the conflict in this? They're saying the reason that they're enforcing a vaccine is because they don't want you to get hospitalized and die from it. But the firefighters or the police officers or their teachers or any of these public employees, what if they've had it? It doesn't make any sense. So they're really saying it's not about spread. They're saying that they're your mom and dad or they're your doctor and they're telling you what to do if you work for the city. This stuff didn't exist before the pandemic. It's so frustrating. I mean, our health decisions were our own health decisions with our doctors, and it wasn't public. Our politicians didn't get involved. I want to say in March, when the mayor was really pushing forward to fire all these people, firefighters, police officers who are not vaccinated, even with the religious and rejecting the religious exemptions, we really thought they were going to lose their jobs. And so I asked our mayor's office at the time, and this time they wouldn't respond. Why she was going to follow, while they would fire employees when the science showed that the vaccines don't stop the spread of the virus. These are questions I asked that were not responded to. I'm just pointing it out back in March. I also asked them why they were going to terminate only the unvaccinated, since the vaccinated were more likely to be causing the staffing shortages with their first bout of the virus. Well, these logical questions went unanswered. And anyway, I think the police union won the final thing is that the police union lawsuit, I guess, is over. The firefighter one, I'm not sure where that will go, if they're going to do something about the terms of what they've been through all year. I will find out about that. The bigger picture here is this is a great deal. I mean, this is good. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for everyone who, has been trying didn't want to get vaccinated for various reasons and doesn't have to now to keep their job, and I'm glad their jobs are secure. But a lot of people got fired, and I have good friends now I've made through my reporting in San Francisco who have lost their jobs and their lives have changed dramatically. All for these vaccines that were never intended to stop the spread of the pandemic and were just utilized terribly for the people who take care of us and protect us. So with that being said, so there is good news here. I hope other cities follow suit so we can get our first responders back on the front lines. And I will, hopefully you're liking my video reporting. If you can do me a favor, just hit the subscribe button that's below so that I can get more subscribers and people continue to do this. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Anything you've heard in here, please leave a comment. Let me know what you have to say about this, about the substance, or what you want to hear from. If you have any questions for me, put it in the comments. You can always find me at emilypostnews.com, on Twitter, Emily Miller. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you for bearing with me as I get this all started.